Howdy. We're going to be talking about practice today, how to keep yourself practicing, how to get yourself started into practice, and what you can do to keep yourself motivated. Stick around and find out.
Hi and welcome. I'm Jason Buckingham.
And I'm Andrew King. We're here at Alamo Music Center in San Antonio. Please like, comment, subscribe on our YouTube channel, and visit our website at alamomusic.com for any more information that we talk about in this video. So, we're talking about practice.
Practice, man. We're talking about practice.
It's the thing you should be doing, right? I can tell you right now, I was diagnosed with ADHD as a kid. And they told me, well, you're going to have to get some help and stuff like that. So I had to come up with a bunch of different strategies. I've been playing saxophone for like 20 years. I can only imagine how long you've been going at it. But keeping myself motivated.
What does that mean? I'm old?
Yeah. We're going to get that out of the way first. The difference between our experience.
All right.
But yeah, man, what you teach and stuff like that? What do you talk about in practice and stuff like that?
I mean, that's always the challenge is getting students or even myself to practice. I think the foundational thing to understand when you're talking about practicing a musical instrument, there's a couple things that I think most people just kind of blow off. The coordination between what you're doing, especially as a wind player, between what you're doing with your hands and your face and matching all that stuff up with your senses, your ears, what you're seeing on the page. I don't think it's a stretch at all to compare what we do as musicians to a Formula One driver or a fighter pilot because of just the little discrete things you have to do to make your instrument go.
Absolutely. And it sounds like a lot with like a ton of that kind of stuff. Instruments are weirdly unintuitive on a kind of a weird scale. That's why it takes so long to get into it and everything like that. You have people that'll practice, like 2 or 3 hours a day, that kind of thing. Right. So it just takes a lot of work, especially at the beginning. But that's why you have like the teachers and stuff like that. What do you think are like some of like the best ways to get started and like keep yourself, get you started in practicing and everything like that?
Well, I mean, keeping especially a young kid motivated, I think there's a lot of similarities, or there can be, between what kids are doing on a video game and what they're doing in their practice. So if you're able to give kids a tangible goal, or even as simple, and I like this strategy, and I've seen it a lot where directors will put up a big board and have every kid's name on it, and when they achieve a certain task they get a star or whatever. Yeah. Just like with a video game where you kill 10,000 zombies and you get an extra clip for your shotgun or whatever.
Right.
But those kind of motivations, I think, keep younger students going when they can actually see and track their progress.
Yeah.
I like those strategies a lot. And also just, simple like attaboys.
Right.
Just making sure that as a teacher you acknowledge when you see improvement, when you see a change in musical behavior.
Right. No, absolutely. And like, as far as getting, having those yard goals basically, and having those checkpoints to go through and everything, and having those rewards, I find that's why a lot of band directors will give like those weekly status sheets, right? To have the parent sign off, the kid's practiced 30 minutes today, he worked on this or this and stuff, and then bring it back to the school and give it to the teacher.
Well, and that keeps the parents involved too.
Right.
Which is smart.
Right, and it's such an investment on the parents' part in the beginning too. A lot of these instruments can cost a good amount, so you want to make sure the kids sticking with it. Is there anything else like the parents can do to help the kid as far as practicing goes? I mean, like,
Well, the first thing is be tolerant of it. Yeah. As simple as that sounds, because, I mean, I would have private students that would show up and the progress wasn't what I was expecting. And a lot of times I would hear the player, express some frustration because they're not allowed to practice like in the house. I know personally, I wanted to play drums, and I was told it was going to be too loud. So play trumpet. Like that's going to be any quieter. But there was some tolerance with putting up with me making all that racket in the house with the trumpet. And the more you do it, especially at the beginning, it's going to sound better at some point, relatively soon.
oh yeah,
Like I think a lot of people have this image in their head that a beginning student just sounds bad forever, and that's not the case.
it's definitely a matter of the teacher teaching them proper techniques in the beginning, but the kid taking that and making sure to keep those good habits going. Practice is exponential, right?
Yes.
It's not an additive process in any regard. It's basically everything they learn is going to be added to the next thing they learn, and it makes it that much easier to get to that next point. I mean, there's a reason why you call it practicing out runs and stuff is called woodshedding.
Right.
It's the whole Charlie Parker story. Dude went out in the back into a woodshed and stuff like that with a record player and just played over a bunch of charts over and over again. We got that phrase. What I think is also really good is to make sure that you're kind of portioning the practicing, because it's very similar to school and everything, where you have to kind of have this certain thing ready at a certain time for the concert, or say like a playoff or something like that, where you have to play. I would say like 30 minutes a day is good for a beginner, and then depending on how serious you want to take it, you kind of cast that up a little bit.
That's what I would tell beginning students. To me, it's never been about the amount of hours you practice, but you need to practice long enough to where you're actually training the muscles to do the right things. Because muscles are stupid.
Oh yeah.
Like, we can conceptualize the task at hand, but that isn't going to help you play it. It'll help you play it maybe 10%. But that other 90% is just training these muscles to where they have what a reading teacher would call automaticity, where they've trained their muscles so well that, and the correct way, that there isn't any thinking about taking a breath and playing a good sounding concert F.
Right.
Like, you have that down because you've done it over and over and over, and you continue the maintenance of that stroke, if you will.
Yeah.
Like a golf player. Breathe and get it right back out, enunciate a DAW, make a nice sounding F, and,
Basically putting on an autopilot, but a good autopilot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's autopilot because, with an airplane, it's been programmed to do it the right way.
Yeah.
When you're practicing, you're training your muscles to do it the right way. Your muscles down here in your breathing system, your muscles here in your face with the embouchure, the muscles in your hands, and all of it needs to be from a place of relaxation. So the muscles can just do what they do.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's why warming up is a big thing. So like before you practice, right? When you go into the practice room, or when you go into the woodshed, or whatever you need to do to go practice, what is like the first thing you think is like one of the best things to do? Like when I get started, I always start with like long tones, playing with like a CD or something like that, where it has like a straight pitch, and I tune myself with that doing a scale.
Long tones, and I'm a low brass player, so the first thing I'm going to do is do some breathing exercises.
Okay.
And kind of warm up that whole system. I think the warm up of the breathing muscles is something that I think people are aware of it, but as far as the time that it takes, I think that gets blown off.
Pun intended.
Right. When I was teaching teaching drum corps, if I had an hour to warm up my horn line, 15 to 20 minutes of that hour was going to be just breathing.
Oh yeah, it activates so much in the body. Just
right.
In the
you get this thing warmed up, then once the breathing thing is right, then all you got to do is loosen this stuff up and go.
Yeah.
But the breathing part is huge.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you're talking about being relaxed and everything. It's really important too. Especially I'm a saxophone player, right? So when we're playing, you see all these videos of like people playing online, and you see like their scrunched up face and stuff, and you go into the saxophone or any kind of instrument, and you're just like, they're trying, they're tight and everything. But no, the relaxation part is the secret, basically, this whole thing. It's breathing from down here, and relaxation is the whole secret to a great tone.
But the visual part of seeing what that is.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know when I judge marching band shows, a lot of times I'm judging with my eyes, because if I see what you're talking about, if I see players with a lot of tension in their face or their upper body, I don't even need to listen to what's coming out the bell, because I can see it.
Yeah.
You can see what it sounds like. So I know woodwind players are better with this than brass players, but having that mirror on your stand so you can see what's going on with your body when you breathe, when you're playing, it's almost more important than the sound.
Yeah, man. And once you have that all down, right? So you're all relaxed and everything. You've warmed up your breathing and everything, and you're starting to play. Maybe you got to like do some like pass offs on some like scales, right? When I do it, I tend to do like 15 to 20 minutes at a time, 5 minutes just to walk around. Like I kind of give myself a little break, because sometimes when you're playing a little more harder stuff, even in the beginning, but especially later on when you're like trying to do it like the pro stuff, what ends up happening is you'll do these runs over and over again, and you might get it right once or twice, but it never really sticks, right? So what I end up doing is I'll go do this for 20 minutes, go take a walk for like 5-10 minutes, come back, and it's way better.
Well, it's that rest part that's probably the second most blown off thing. Is you need to give yourself a chance to be away from the instrument. With brass players, when I'm really starting to work with a kid on range stuff, it's easy to just get yourself in a death spiral by sitting there and trying to play that high C over and over and over, and it gets worse and worse and worse, because you're just tearing muscles up that point. So I mean, you've got to be judicious in anything that's going to be physically taxing, like playing fast passages, like playing stuff in the upper range. You have to have all that stuff relaxed.
Absolutely.
And that's something that you have to practice and be mindful of, is that relaxation part, so you're able to just execute.
Right. And that's super akin to things like working out, going for runs, that kind of thing. Giving yourself that little time to rest, let your body come back, like the recovery period, basically. And that works for your mind as well. The relationship between your brain's making new neurons and stuff like that to connect to the new ideas and stuff like that, right? Yep. So how long do you, if you just say like you practice like maybe like 5 times a week, right? How long are those little sessions usually going for you? For me, they're like usually an hour or two, just to keep myself in shape. But
well, when I was in college and was practicing, 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours a day, there wasn't a whole lot of warm up, because I was just kind of always warmed up. Yeah. Because I was playing a lot. Now that I don't play as much as I used to, I'll spend, 15, 20 minutes doing some breathing stuff, doing some nice, easy long tones, some pitch bends, just to get all this kind of loosened up. And then once I feel pretty good here, then I'll practice whatever it is I need to take a look at.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I know, so me growing up and everything, one of the things that I had difficulty doing was actually like relating to a lot of the music that we were playing in band. So what I ended up doing was I was going on like websites and stuff. I was finding stuff like video game music or music from like shows that I like to watch because it gave me something other than the scales, the warm-up sheets, and all that kind of stuff. Because practice is boring. It can just get boring after a while. And the worst thing you can do is turn your brain off when you're practicing, right? Because you're trying to pay attention to everything that's going on. If you're just practicing for the sake of practicing, you're not really getting as much as you can get back. Is there any other stuff that you kind of use other than like maybe like the gig coming up that you have to practice for or anything like that?
Well, taking a step back, the listening part is probably the third most blown off thing. Because I don't know that a lot of younger players in particular, but even high school I've run into this, where I'll ask a student, like, if they're a trumpet player, who's your favorite trumpet player? They don't have an answer for that.
Right.
Now, when I was a kid, I was lucky because, brass playing was something that was in the mainstream. You could turn on the TV at 10:30 at night and see Doc Severinsen. You could, turn on the radio and hear Chuck Mangione or Herb Alpert, or Maynard Ferguson was really active, and he actually came to the little town where I grew up in Wyoming. And
cool.
Yeah, like it was like 1978, and he came to Thermopolis, Wyoming, and none of us had ever heard anybody play a trumpet like that, let alone all the other instruments in the big band. So, Maynard and Stan Kenton before that are responsible for thousands of people picking up instruments. It's too bad we don't have somebody out there doing that now.
Yeah, I mean, so from my situation, right, I came up during a time when it was definitely more R&B pop was the mainstream stuff, right? We had like NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, you keep going.
Right.
And yeah, not a lot of stuff super relatable to saxophone. We get, you get some orchestration stuff from like Disney movies or any like film and that kind of thing. Nowadays with kids, what I'm noticing is the stuff that if they want to get into saxophone, it's a lot of like memes and stuff like that, right? Like George Carlin, or not George Carlin, but no, George Michael, Careless Whisper, that kind of thing. They'll hear that and they'll be one just play it over and over again. Yeah, exactly. But you got endless resources now, right? So these what you can do is if you have any modicum of interest in the saxophone or any interest in any of those instruments that you're playing, you can YouTube. It's great.
Yeah, the whole world all of a sudden is at your
just
fingers.
Opened, and that's something that no one's ever really had before. So it's really a great resource to look at that. So when you're practicing and stuff, listen to some great saxophone player, listen to some great flautist. You can use that and take it and basically try to base your sound, and that you can use that as your motivation to practice.
Right. Well, if you don't know what a good sound is, you don't know what a good sound is.
Right.
And that's something that, I've had to fight as a band director and a private lesson teacher, because if you don't know, you just don't know. And the only way you're going to know is by investigating it. I mean, you can sit in class and listen to everybody doing F around the room, and, I like the way that guy sounds or whatever, but, it's F around the room. How exciting is that going to be?
Right. Yeah,
So
you
get on YouTube. See what your instrument sounds like. See how two different players sound, and start picking and choosing what you like about this player and that player, and try to incorporate that into what you're doing.
Exactly. No, that's fantastic. Well, I'm Andrew.
I'm Jason.
And this was our YouTube video on practice and different ways you can look at it. Thank you so much for watching. Please, again, like, comment, and subscribe. Give us your practice methods. See what you guys do on your end. We'd love to take your considerations in and see if we can make another video around this. Maybe we'll answer questions and stuff like that. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Again, you can visit us on alamomusic.com, or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. I already said that though. Thanks you so much for watching. Bye-bye.